My brothers and sisters, let me ask you something very honestly. How do you begin your day? Not how you wish you began it, not how it looks on social media, but how it truly begins. For many people, the first thing their eyes see is not the remembrance of Allah, it is a phone, messages, notifications, worries, news, stress, comparison, fear, desire, and then we wonder why our hearts feel heavy before the day has even started. The truth is simple and uncomfortable. If you don't train your mind in the morning, the world will train it for you, and the world is not merciful. Islam never taught us to leave our hearts unguarded. The morning is not just a time on the clock, it is a battlefield for your heart, your focus, and your iman. So today, let us talk about morning mind training that actually works, not theory, not slogans, but guidance rooted in the Quran, the Sunnah, and real life. When you wake up in the morning, before your feet touch the ground, before your hand reaches for the phone, before your mind starts racing through problems, plans, and pressures, remind yourself of one truth that most people forget every single day. Allah gave you life again. You did not wake yourself up. Your alarm did not give you life. Your health did not guarantee this morning. Sleep itself is a reminder of death. When you sleep, your awareness is taken away. You are powerless. You cannot protect yourself. You cannot respond. And yet Allah returns your soul every morning. Not because you deserve it, not because you earned it, but because of His mercy. Many people woke up yesterday with plans, ambitions, and confidence. They did not wake up today. You did. That alone should change the way you begin your day. The problem is not that people don't believe in Allah. The problem is that they forget Him first thing in the morning. And when Allah is forgotten at the start, anxiety takes over the rest. When the Prophet ﷺ woke up, he acknowledged Allah immediately. He did not start with dunya. He did not start with worry. He did not start with distraction. He began by recognizing the one who gave him life. This is not a ritual without meaning. This is mental training at the highest level. Because when you start the day remembering Allah, you are reminding your mind who is actually in control. Most anxiety comes from a false belief that you are in control, that everything depends on you, that if you fail, everything collapses, that if things go wrong, there is no protection. This belief crushes the heart slowly. But when you remember Allah in the morning, something powerful happens. You tell your mind, I am not running this universe. I am not carrying the weight of everything. I am a servant and there is a Lord. The mind that starts the day remembering Allah is grounded. It is not shaken easily. Problems still come, but they don't feel suffocating. Pressure still exists, but it doesn't feel paralyzing. Why? Because the heart knows it is not alone. The mind that forgets Allah in the morning will spend the rest of the day searching for stability in people, in success, in money, in validation, in control, and it will never fully find it. Look at how people wake up today. The first thing they check is their phone. Messages, news, social media, comparisons, fears, arguments, responsibilities. Before their heart is even awake, it is already under attack. Then they say, I don't know why I feel stressed. They say, I don't know why I feel heavy. They say, I don't know why my mind is tired. But the reason is clear. You allowed the dunya to speak to your heart before Allah did. When you begin the day with remembrance, fear shrinks. Not because problems disappear, but because fear is no longer the loudest voice in your mind. Anxiety weakens because you remember that nothing happens without the permission of Allah. Pressure loses its grip because you understand that outcomes are not fully in your hands. This is not passive thinking. This is not weakness. This is clarity. A person who remembers Allah in the morning does not say, nothing can go wrong. They say, even if things go wrong, Allah is still in control, and that changes everything. This mindset creates calm strength. It creates patience. It creates emotional stability. You stop overreacting to small problems because you are no longer acting as if the world is falling apart every time something doesn't go your way. Real mental strength is not loud confidence. Real mental strength is not pretending to be fearless. Real mental strength is knowing who holds power when you do not. When you remember Allah first, you stop worshipping outcomes. You stop attaching your peace to results. You stop measuring your worth by productivity, success, or approval. You understand something very important. Your job is effort, sincerity, and obedience. The result belongs to Allah. This is why remembrance in the morning is not just about reward, it is about survival in a chaotic world. If you skip this step, the day controls you, people control your mood, events control your emotions. One message can ruin your peace, one delay can anger you, one problem can break your focus. But when you begin with Allah, your center holds. You walk into the day knowing that whatever happens, happens under the watch of the most merciful. That whatever you face, you are not facing it alone. That whatever you lose, Allah is still enough. That is why the morning matters. That is why remembrance matters. That is why Islam trains the heart before the world tries to break it. This is real mental strength. Many people treat Fajr like an inconvenience, something to rush, something to delay, something to negotiate with sleep. And then they wonder why their discipline is weak, why their focus collapses, why their motivation disappears halfway through the day. Let us be honest. This is not a coincidence. Fajr is not just a prayer. Fajr is training. It is mental conditioning. It is the first test of obedience every single day. When the adhan of Fajr is called, nothing dramatic happens externally. No one claps for you. No one praises you. No one rewards you instantly. And that is exactly why it is powerful. Fajr trains you to obey Allah when your nafs does not want to. When your body wants comfort. When your mind wants delay. When sleep feels sweeter than discipline. This is where mental strength is built. Every time you respond to Fajr, you are telling your mind something very important. Comfort does not control me. Desire does not rule me. I submit to Allah even when it is difficult. And every time you ignore Fajr, delay it unnecessarily or treat it lightly, you are training your mind in the opposite direction. You are teaching yourself that obedience is optional and discipline can wait. People underestimate what this does to the heart. A person who struggles with consistency in life almost always struggles with consistency in Fajr, because the same muscle is involved, the muscle of self-control. When you wake up for Fajr, your day begins with victory. You have already conquered your nafs once. You have already proven to yourself that you can act against laziness. That confidence carries into everything else. But when you lose the first battle of the day, the rest becomes heavier. Look at how shaitan works. He doesn't usually say, don't pray. He says, sleep a little more. He doesn't say, abandon Allah. He says, you're tired. Allah's merciful. Yes, Allah is merciful. But mercy is not an excuse for negligence. The Prophet ﷺ and his companions understood something we have forgotten. Fajr sharpens the soul. There is a clarity that comes after Fajr that cannot be explained to someone who constantly misses it. There is a calm focus that enters the heart, a sense of alignment, a feeling that the day is under control, even before it begins. This is not psychological placebo. This is spiritual reality. When you stand before Allah at Fajr, you are placing Him first. And whatever you place first shapes everything that follows. Many people complain that they lack motivation. They say, I wake up tired. I feel lazy. I feel unmotivated. But motivation is not something you wait for. Motivation is something you train. Fajr is motivation training. It teaches you that action comes before feeling, that obedience comes before ease, that discipline comes before comfort. This is why Fajr hits shaitan hardest. Because a believer who responds to Fajr is difficult to control. Their day is anchored. Their heart is awake. And notice something important. When Fajr becomes strong, other sins start to weaken. Not because you are suddenly perfect, but because your mind is no longer unguarded. When Fajr becomes rushed, delayed, or neglected, the heart becomes vulnerable. You become more reactive, more irritable, more distracted, more impatient. You may not connect it to Fajr, but the connection exists. Allah calls you before sunrise for a reason. Before the noise, before the demands, before the world pulls you apart. When you answer that call, you are not just praying, you are declaring loyalty. You are saying, Ya Allah, you come before my sleep. You come before my comfort. You come before my excuses. That declaration strengthens the mind in a way nothing else can. And let us address something very honestly. Many people say, I pray Fajr, but I still struggle. Yes, Because Fajr is not magic, it is training, and training requires consistency. You do not become physically strong after one workout, you do not become mentally strong after one morning, but over time Fajr builds discipline, resilience, and inner order. It slowly reshapes how you respond to life. The person who guards Fajr learns patience, learns restraint, learns to delay gratification, learns to prioritize what matters over what feels good, and that skill transfers into work, relationships, emotions, and decisions. This is why Fajr is not optional mental training. It is essential. If you want a strong mind but neglect Fajr, you are trying to build strength while refusing the foundation. If you want clarity but ignore the one moment Allah designed for it, you are choosing confusion. Do not underestimate the quiet power of standing before Allah while most of the world is asleep. That moment shapes your entire day, whether you realize it or not. This is real mental training. The first few minutes after you wake up are not neutral, they are powerful. Your mind at that moment is open, unprotected, and highly impressionable. Whatever enters first does not just pass through, it settles. This is why Islam places so much importance on morning remembrance. Not because Allah needs your words, but because you need protection. Most people do not realize that they are training their minds the moment they wake up. The question is not whether you are being trained. The question is who is training you. If the first thing you allow into your mind is worry, comparison, bad news, arguments, or social media, then do not be surprised when your heart feels heavy all day. You planted chaos first. Chaos will grow. When the Prophet ﷺ taught us morning adhkar, it was not symbolic, it was defensive, it was mental armor. Because shaitan does not wait until you are ready. He attacks when you are weakest, and the morning is one of those moments. Some people say, it's just a few minutes on my phone, but those few minutes decide the emotional tone of your entire day. One message can trigger anger. One image can trigger insecurity. One headline can trigger fear. And all of this happens before your heart has even stabilized. Then people say, I don't know why I feel off today. You do know. You just ignored the cause. The heart was created to remember Allah. When it is filled with something else, first, it becomes unsettled. It feels restless. It feels anxious. It feels scattered. This is not because the dunya is evil in itself, but because it was never meant to be the first voice your heart hears in the morning. When you guard your first thoughts with remembrance, something remarkable happens. Your mind becomes selective. You stop reacting to everything. You stop absorbing every emotion that passes by. You become grounded before the storms begin. Islam teaches us that the heart is like a container. What you pour in first sets the tone. If you pour remembrance, calm enters. If you pour noise, confusion follows. This is why people who start their day with dhikr often appear emotionally stable. Not because their lives are easier, but because their hearts were prepared. They still face traffic. They still face stress. They still face difficult people. But their reactions are different. They are not easily shaken because their inner world was secured early. And let us be honest, many of our emotional struggles are not caused by big tragedies. They are caused by small, repeated exposures to negativity that we allow without resistance. The morning is where resistance must begin. When you say your morning remembrance, you are not just reciting words. You are declaring boundaries. You are saying, not everything gets access to my heart. This is mental discipline. Some people think guarding the heart means isolating yourself from life. No, it means choosing the order. Allah first, everything else later. When Allah is first, everything else finds its place. When Allah is delayed, everything becomes overwhelming. This is why the Prophet ﷺ taught specific supplications for protection in the morning. Protection from harm, from evil, from misguidance, from fear. Because the believer understands that the unseen battles are often more dangerous than the visible ones. A heart left unguarded becomes reactive. A guarded heart becomes responsive. There is a difference. A reactive mind jumps immediately into emotion. A responsive mind pauses, reflects, and then acts. That pause is built in the morning. Many people say, I lose my temper easily, or I overthink too much, or I feel anxious for no reason. But the reason often begins at dawn. You gave your mind away before you anchored it. Guarding your first thoughts does not mean perfection, it means intention. Even a few moments of remembrance, gratitude, and awareness can reset the direction of your day. And do not underestimate this. Shaitan does not fear big changes. He fears consistency in small protections. If he can distract you early, the rest becomes easier. If he fails early, his work becomes harder. This is why the morning is not the time to scroll aimlessly. It is the time to establish clarity. It is the time to remind yourself who you belong to, why you exist, and where you are going. A believer who guards their morning thoughts is not controlled by every emotion. They are not pulled apart by every event. They move through the day with purpose, not panic. This is not accidental. This is trained. When you protect your heart in the morning, you are not escaping reality. You are preparing for it. And that preparation is what makes the difference between a day that controls you and a day you walk through with strength. This is real mental training. One of the fastest ways to weaken your mind before the day even begins is to wake up complaining. Complaining about how tired you are. Complaining about how hard life is. Complaining about what you have to face today. Many people do this automatically. It feels normal. It feels harmless. But spiritually and mentally, it is destructive. Because the first voice you allow in the morning becomes the voice that leads your day. When you wake up complaining, you are training your mind to focus on what is missing instead of what has been given. You are telling your heart that life is a burden instead of a blessing. And slowly, without realizing it, you weaken your resilience. Islam does not deny hardship. Islam does not tell you to pretend everything is perfect. But Islam teaches you how to face hardship with awareness of Allah and gratitude for what remains. There is a huge difference between acknowledging difficulty and starting the day in complaint. When you complain first thing in the morning, you begin the day already defeated. You wake up mentally behind. You haven't faced the problem yet, but you already feel crushed by it. This is why gratitude in the morning is not just a spiritual act, it is mental training. When you thank Allah in the morning, you are not ignoring your problems. You are placing them in the correct position. You are saying, yes, there are challenges, but there are also countless blessings. And that balance gives strength. Look at how many people wake up with functioning bodies, with sight, with hearing, with shelter, with food, and yet the first words on their lips are negative. Not because life is unbearable, but because complaining has become a habit. The danger of habitual complaining is that it blinds you. It trains the mind to only notice what hurts, what delays, what disappoints. Over time, this creates bitterness. A person may still pray, still work, still function, but their heart becomes heavy and ungrateful without them realizing why. The Prophet ﷺ taught us to recognize blessings constantly, especially at the start of the day, because a grateful heart is harder to break. Gratitude does not remove tests, but it changes how you carry them. A grateful person still feels pain, but they are not consumed by it. They still struggle, but they do not collapse emotionally at every difficulty. Complaining weakens patience. Gratitude strengthens it. And here is something very important. Complaining does not solve problems, it only magnifies them. Many people believe that complaining releases stress. In reality, it reinforces it. The more you repeat negative thoughts, the deeper they carve themselves into your mind. Islam teaches us to control the tongue, because the tongue trains the heart. What you say repeatedly becomes what you believe. If you wake up saying, this day is going to be terrible, your mind will look for proof and it will find it. If you wake up thanking Allah, even quietly, your mind becomes open to mercy instead of misery. This is not positive thinking, this is correct thinking. A believer understands that life is a test, but also a gift. That difficulty exists, but so does divine care. That pain is real, but so is purpose. When you wake up complaining, you forget that Allah chose this day for you. That whatever you will face today is not random. That Allah's wisdom is greater than your understanding. Complaining in the morning is often a sign that we are too focused on ourselves, our comfort, our plans, our expectations. Gratitude shifts the focus outward toward Allah, toward what He has provided, toward what He has protected us from. And this shift brings calm. A person who begins the day with gratitude is more patient with people, more forgiving, more emotionally stable. They do not explode over small inconveniences because their heart is not already boiling. But a person who begins the day complaining is already irritated, already defensive, already tense, and the smallest issue becomes unbearable. This is why Islam teaches us to consciously train the heart at the start of the day. You do not need long speeches, you do not need dramatic words, even a quiet acknowledgement, all praises for Allah can realign your heart. Over time, this practice rewires your thinking. You become someone who notices blessings even in difficulty, someone who faces problems with steadiness instead of panic. And that is real mental strength. Do not underestimate the power of how you start your day. A complaining heart is fragile, a grateful heart is resilient. Choose resilience. Every single day, whether you realize it or not, you are being pulled in 100 directions. Expectations, responsibilities, people, deadlines, emotions. If you do not decide your direction early, the world will decide it for you and it will not be gentle. This is why intention in Islam is not a formality, it is alignment, it is mental order. The Prophet ﷺ taught us that actions are judged by intentions, not by how busy you are, not by how impressive things look, but by what you intended when you began. Most people wake up and immediately enter reaction mode. They respond to messages, they respond to demands, they respond to stress. The day controls them before they even realize what is happening. Then they feel lost, overwhelmed, and mentally exhausted, even if they accomplished a lot. Because busyness without intention drains the soul. When you set your intention in the morning, even quietly, you are telling your mind, I know why I am doing what I am doing today. That clarity changes everything. You stop feeling like life is attacking you from all sides. Instead, you move with purpose. Intention connects the mundane to meaning. Work becomes worship. Patience becomes worship. Even enduring difficulty becomes worship if it is done for Allah. Without intention, the same actions feel heavy. With intention, they feel purposeful. Many people say, I don't feel fulfilled. Often, it's not because they lack blessings. It's because their days lack intention. They rush from one task to another without ever asking, why am I doing this? And when the heart does not know why, it becomes restless. Setting intention in the morning is not about controlling outcomes. It is about surrendering them correctly. You are not saying, today will go exactly how I want. You are saying, Ya Allah, I am doing my part sincerely and I trust you with the result. That trust removes pressure. A person who lives without intention carries unnecessary guilt. They feel like they are never doing enough. They compare themselves constantly. They feel behind even when they are moving. But a person who sets intention understands something powerful. My responsibility is effort and sincerity. The result belongs to Allah. This mindset stabilizes the heart. When something goes wrong during the day, an intentional person does not collapse emotionally. They remind themselves, this was never fully in my control, and they move forward. When something goes right, they do not become arrogant. They recognize Allah's favor. Intention protects you from both despair and pride. This is why the morning is the best time to set it. Before distractions, before stress, before the noise, even a simple intention is enough. Ya Allah, I intend to please you today. That alone can transform how you speak, how you work, how you respond to people. Without intention, the tongue becomes careless. The heart becomes reactive. The mind becomes scattered. With intention, you become selective. You think before you speak. You pause before you react. You choose patience over impulse. Many arguments happen because people start the day without intention. They are already tense, already defensive, already irritated. Then one small trigger explodes into something bigger. But when the heart begins the day anchored, it takes much more to shake it. Intention also protects you from burnout, because burnout often comes from doing too much without meaning. A believer who sets intention understands that not every day will be productive in the same way. Some days are for effort, some days are for patience, some days are for endurance. All of it counts when it is for Allah. This removes the constant pressure to prove yourself. The world tells you that your worth is in output, speed, and recognition. Islam tells you that your worth is in sincerity. That difference saves the mind. If you don't set intention,